I fired a warning shot.
Okay.
And I fired a second shot.
This is Amanda Butler, MBA, former professor, 12 years in cybersecurity. On the night of September 2nd, 2019, she fired a Glock at her wife twice in a Jacksonville neighborhood while the city boarded up its windows for a hurricane. One bullet grazed her wife's hip. A second round went through the front door of the house next door, through the living room, and out the back. 2 children were asleep inside. She will spend the next 90 minutes in this room insisting it was self-defense. And here is what she does not know. Detective Barnhart will tell her.
Because I can tell you that you didn't fire that shot from your house. The first shot, maybe. But the shot you fired at Christy, you weren't in front of your house because the casing was right on your neighbor's front porch.
Amanda had followed her wife across the yard, right to the door Christy was banging on, begging strangers to let her in. For the next hour and a half, she is going to tell Detective Barnhart exactly why she never left her driveway. Christy was not the subject of every 911 call that night. She was the reason for all of them. On the evening of September 2nd, 2019, she was doing what thousands of people across Jacksonville were doing, preparing for a hurricane, checking supplies, living inside the ordinary anxiety of a storm warning. Christy had been ill, a rash, a fever. She had spent much of that day in bed, and Amanda had been cataloging every hour of it. By nightfall, Christy was running through a neighborhood in the dark, barefoot, banging on strangers' doors, asking someone, anyone, to open up while a gun was pointed at her back. The neighbors who called 911 didn't know her name. They described a woman at their door, a woman who was bleeding, a woman who was terrified. Nobody opened the door. Amanda and Christy Butler had been married for 2 years. Amanda filed for divorce in February. Christy had not signed. They were still living together, in a house Amanda will tell the detective she had been paying for a loan. Hurricane Dorian made landfall on September 2nd. The day began at 5 in the morning when the argument started. By nightfall, 2 shots had been fired. One bullet grazed Christy's hip. The second went through the front door of the house next door, through the living room, through the back wall. 2 young children asleep inside. Christy survived. Amanda went back into the house and called 911. She was brought in for questioning that same night. Before we go into that room, here is what Detective Barnhart already has. 2 shell casings. The first recovered in the driveway, consistent, for now, with Amanda's account of a warning shot. The second recovered on the neighbor's front porch. Not between the houses. Not in the grass. On the porch. The same porch Christy had run to. Bullet trajectory. The round that entered the neighbor's front door passed through the living room and exited the rear of the house. The entry angle is consistent with a shot fired from close range at the front of the property, not from a driveway across the yard. Multiple 911 calls from neighbors. Their accounts describe Amanda moving, not standing in her driveway, but moving across the yard in pursuit. Text messages sent from Christy's phone by Amanda to Christy's contacts before the shooting. The message, everything is fine, and Amanda's own injuries. Lacerations across both forearms she will attribute to Christy and a pizza knife. Detective Barnhart is 12 years into this job. He will look at those cuts and say something Amanda is not prepared for. She walks into that room believing she can build a self-defense case. What she doesn't know is that the physical evidence has already told the story she's about to spend 90 minutes contradicting.
Hey, Amanda. Hey, I'm Detective Barnhart, like I said a minute ago. Okay, this is Sergeant Goldfine. Alright, we just want to kind of go over everything in between to you, what's going on, what happened tonight, let you tell us about what you know, okay? Before we get going, ask you any questions.
Side of the story matters.
Well, we're going to try to get it anyway. I mean, we want to hear what you have to say. Before we do that, though, I just want to make sure I have the correct information for you. I have Amanda Beth Butler, 7585. Is that you? Okay. Okay. Are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol right now?
I had a Bloody Mary about 4 hours ago, but I was sweating that out when I was...
Okay. Do you feel like it's anything that should affect your ability to talk or communicate? Or?
No, sir. Okay. I'm just tired as heck from hurricane prep. I'm sorry.
I understand that. What's the highest level of school you've completed?
I have an MBA and MA.
Okay. So safe to say
MBS.
you read and write very well then.
I was a professor for a couple of years.
Okay.
Right there, before the detective has asked a single substantive question, Amanda has volunteered her credentials. Not in response to anything. She continued, unprompted, "I was a professor for a couple of years." The detective didn't ask. She offered. Hold on to that. It will matter when she's standing in her neighbor's yard explaining why she fired at a woman who was running away from her and needs the room to believe she is measured, reasonable, credentialed. Right now, she's making a deposit.
You have the following rights under the United States Constitution.
Right. And I'm going to go over the rest of them. Right? You can follow with me. You do not have to make a statement or say anything, okay? Anything you say can be used against you in court. You have the right to talk to a lawyer for advice before you make a statement or before any questions are asked of you, and to have the lawyer with you during any questioning. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed for you before any questioning if you wish. If you do answer questions, you have the right to stop answering questions at any time and consult with a lawyer. Do you understand those rights?
Yes.
All right, Amanda, tell us what happened tonight. How did we get to where we are now? It's obviously been a long night, so just kind of in your own words, run me through everything that's happened. How we got to this point.
Would be great if I could lay down for a couple hours before we get here, but
Well, we can't do that. We're here now, okay?
no, it started at 5 a.m.
It started at 5 a.m.? Okay.
Yes,
So,
literally.
so like 24 hours ago, 5 a.m.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the whole premise for the day was we got to do hurricane prep, obviously, and I asked her everything that I needed to do, and she,
You say she, who are you referring to?
Christy.
Okay.
The detective lets her run. He is not pressing her, not challenging anything. The longer she narrates, her money, the mortgage, Christy in bed all day, months of resentment, the more she is building a motive that will sit in this room long after her self-defense story falls apart. He is not gathering information right now. He is giving her space to establish that she was deeply, chronically angry, and she is filling that space generously.
She just kept saying, well, I'm sick, and I've been the Floridian, and you're Mississippi native, and the eye had turned, I gotta take a nap. She kept rolling over and going back to sleep until about 4 o'clock this afternoon, and then popped up panicking about things that were not done. This has been the worst mistake of my life. I mean,
What's that?
this relationship. I've always been an academic, a hard worker.
Sure.
I've been in cybersecurity for about 5 years now. Unfortunately, I was laid off about 3 months ago, but I just accepted a new position this morning that after this, I'm sure I won't get.
Why do you say that? That's
So
what we're asking you.
I worked 17, 18-hour days in my field. And it's hard for me to have to pay all of the bills and then come home and do everything at the house and take care of the dogs. And
Alright, so did you guys have an argument then when she woke up at 4 p.m.? How were you towards her when she woke up?
We're at the point where we don't speak.
But something happened today between you. Y'all spoke at some point. I mean, you had to speak because something happened, okay?
Yeah,
a lot happened.
We did. She at 4 finally, her mom called, and yesterday, she said, we need to get up, and if the eye didn't turn by 5, 6 this morning, we needed to get the girls in and pour it up and get out. And I kept addressing her, and she just kept saying, I'm sick, I don't feel good, I've got this rash all over my body. And the heavy argument really started with, I don't know, probably 7:30 when she started grilling in on, you're a deadbeat, you're blah, 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 and I've been the one making 150 plus K a year and paying all of the bills.
When did you pull a gun out tonight? Did you hold a gun? Did you use a gun at all tonight?
I pulled a gun and told her to get the hell out of my house.
Okay. At what point did you do that in the argument? Before or after you went to separate bedrooms?
I mean, after she kind of went nuts here.
Okay. Which gun did you pull
The Glock.
Okay. Black Glock? Okay. Did you ever point it at her? Did you just show it to her? I mean, what happened with the gun?
I had it in the small of my back.
She pulled the gun and held it at the small of her back. Not raised, not pointed, just present. A suggestion. Notice what she does with that detail. In the small of my back, positions the gun as passive. She's building a story in which the weapon was there, but restrained. She wants the detective to picture a woman making a warning, not a woman making a threat. She's about to describe a warning shot fired into the air and a second shot fired in self-defense. Both require the gun to be drawn and aimed. So when it moved from her back to a firing position, and why, is a gap she hasn't filled yet.
Okay. Why would you open the front door to shoot the warning shot?
To try to get her out of the house that I've been paying for 2 years that she hasn't contributed a dime on, and I just get yelled at every day.
Okay, but if you went outside the front door to try to get her out of the house and to fire a warning shot, then you could have left, right? Because you already said you went out the front door, you opened the front door, so you could have just left. I mean, if you felt like your life...
It doesn't work that way.
Well, I'm saying if you felt like your life, you were in fear for your life, you said you went outside the door, you had a gun on you.
The detective has just done something very clean. Amanda described opening the front door. He heard that detail and immediately identified what it means. If you opened the front door, you could have walked through it. The exit existed. She had a gun. She chose not to leave. He isn't accusing her. He's walking her own statement back to her and asking her to reconcile it with the fear she's claiming. That's not the reflex of someone trying to escape. That's the decision of someone who wanted to stay.
Okay. I think there might be some truth in what you're saying, but you're trying to give me a different version of the story than I already know happened. Okay, Amanda, you got to be straight with me. Okay, you're a smart person. I can tell that. I saw the degrees in your house. I saw your MBA. And I saw your other master's degree. You're smart. Okay, you know that what you're saying doesn't add up.
I don't have anything to hide.
I don't have anything to hide. She says that in the same breath as refusing to reconcile her account with the front door. That phrase functions as a full stop to a line of questioning. It sounds transparent while providing nothing. And notice, the detective just referenced her degrees. She didn't correct him or deflect. She accepted the framing. She wants him to think of her as someone who reasons, not someone who panics.
Okay, there was a casing in your driveway, not outside the front door, okay? And then there's another casing. Explain to me how a bullet hole got in your neighbor's front door.
Because we ended up running across the driveway almost over into the neighbor's yard.
Okay, but if you're running outside the house, then you could have run away from her. So did you shoot at her outside? I mean, how are you shooting into the neighbor's house if you're running down the street, like they're running away?
Out of the front door, she's still yelling and screaming and doing her number. And here's my driveway. So, I mean, you've got about 6 feet. And then there's maybe a 12-foot gap of grass.
Between the two houses?
Yeah, between the two houses. And she's still in attack mode. And
Okay, so this is your house. You just said over here. This is a neighbor's house, and you said 12 foot of grass right here.
yes.
If she's over here and you're way over here, why are you shooting at her? Is what I'm trying to figure out.
Because she's threatening my life, my
Okay.
safety, my family.
She gave the detective the geometry herself. 12 feet of grass between the houses. Christy over there. Amanda over here. And she says, threatening my life. Threatening with what? She's not at the door anymore. She's at the neighbor's house. 12 feet away. Unarmed, as Amanda will confirm in a few minutes. The threat she's describing is verbal, and the detective is about to ask her to explain why a Glock is the proportionate response to someone yelling at you from across a yard.
Can I ask how many phones do you guys have in the house? Do you think overall between you and her?
3.
3. But when she was outside and you opened the door and shot outside, do you think that you could?
Well, I was outside too, and I've had to call 911 before, and it took 42 minutes for somebody to show up. So
She just made a tactical mistake. She's arguing that 911 was unreliable, based on a prior experience, which means she considered calling and decided against it. She chose to fire the gun instead of making the call. That is not the reflex of panic. That is a decision. And the detective heard it exactly the same way.
If you fired a warning shot, like go away in your driveway, and she did go away, she's over here, so then why did you shoot at her again? It's the second shot. Why'd you shoot again, the second shot?
because she never goes away, sir.
Oh, you just said she was standing over here at the neighbor's house, though.
Yeah, she was standing over there at the neighbor's house, but she doesn't back down until you hunker down into a hole and say that you've committed 100,000 sins and you're all wrong.
Amanda,
Because she never goes away, sir. She just told the detective she fired the second shot because of a character trait. Not because of an immediate physical threat. Not because Christy was advancing. Because Christy, historically, doesn't give up arguments. The detective said it back to her immediately. You told me she was at the neighbor's house. She was already away. She went away when you fired the first shot. And Amanda's answer, that Christy doesn't back down, that she keeps coming, is a description of a pattern, not a threat. You cannot fire a gun at someone for who they are. You can only use force in response to immediate danger. And at the moment of the second shot, by Amanda's own account, the danger was standing at a neighbor's porch.
why did she run to several neighbors' houses asking for help?
Because I'm hoping she understood after the second shot that I was serious, and then I went back inside and called 911.
So you shot the gun at her to make her know that you were serious? To let her know that you were serious?
Yes.
There it is. She fired the second shot at a person who was already at the neighbor's house to make her take the situation seriously. That is not a self-defense claim. That is an admission of the thing self-defense is supposed to be the opposite of.
Did you ever use her phone? Did you ever send messages from Christy's phone to anyone else tonight?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Who did you text?
I don't even know. I just asked to see her phone and she said, we're talking through it. And I said, she's fine. Let's figure this out. She's good to go.
You were saying that to Christy's friend?
Yes.
Do you know her name?
I'm assuming it would be Amy or Brooke. Those are generally
Okay.
the two people she talks to.
When did you send those texts from Christy's phone to those people? Before or after you shot at Christy?
Before.
Before?
Before. She took Christy's phone and sent messages to Christy's contacts, telling them Christy was fine. Before the gun came out. Before the shots. That is not something you do in the middle of a panic response. That is something you do when you are managing a situation, when you are aware that other people are watching and you want to control what they're told. Before this night ended, Amanda was already thinking about how it would look from the outside, and she decided it should look fine.
That's
Amanda.
been,
Amanda, look at me. Did you cut yourself? Or any of those from yourself doing that? With the pizza knife, did you get really upset maybe that you did something really bad that you shouldn't have done? You were super upset And maybe you freaked out a little bit.
No, but I ran into Hornet's Nest, girls, a fence, all of these windows and stuff.
Amanda. You're smart, okay? I'm pretty smart too. I like to think I am anyway. And we both know when there's a lie being told. You're telling me a lie right now. Some of the stuff you're telling is a lie, okay? Be honest with me. Did you cut yourself with that pizza knife? Because you were scared and you were freaking out after you shot Christy.
I'm unemployed and I can't afford plastic surgery, so no.
Okay, so all those cuts came from Christy.
No, all of these cuts did not come from Christy.
Okay, but some of them came from Christy is what you're saying.
Some of them.
She started with Hornet's Nest fence grills. That explanation arrived and was partially abandoned within the same sentence. The detective didn't flinch. He looked at her hands and said, "We both know when there's a lie being told." And then her answer changed. From no cuts came from Christy to some of them came from Christy. In one exchange, that shift from a firm denial to a partial admission is precisely the pattern that emerges when someone is managing a constructed story rather than recalling a real one. Real memories don't negotiate under pressure. Constructed accounts do.
I've been a police officer almost 13 years and over 12 and a half years. And I've seen stabbing. Okay. Let me finish. I've seen stabbing.
Yeah.
I've also seen plenty of people that are cutters that do superficial wounds that are not stabbing. And in my observation, those aren't stab wounds. Someone is not trying to stab you. Those are someone who's tried to slash, like superficial wounds that are trying to make it look like someone stabbed.
The detective just told Amanda, without any ambiguity, what he thinks he's looking at. He's not asking her to respond. He's telling her that the injury narrative, the pizza knife, Christy coming at her, doesn't match what a 12-year officer sees when he looks at her forearms. He's naming it, and then he moves on.
Did Christy have a gun when you were shooting at her?
Before the hurricane prep, I gave her the Beretta and the taser, so she was supposed to have those on her at all times.
But when you were standing at your house and she was standing in front of the neighbor's house, did you see her holding a gun when you shot at her?
No.
Okay. Did she threaten you with a gun?
In the house.
In the house.
But not outside of the house.
So she threatened you with a gun in the house, but she used a pizza knife to cut you up?
She threatened me with a gun in the master bedroom in the back of the house. And then I keep the Glock under my pillow.
Okay.
I put it in the small of my back and headed towards the kitchen.
She didn't see a gun. Christy's threat with a firearm, the event Amanda is using to justify arming herself, happened inside the house, earlier in the evening. By the time Amanda is standing in the driveway firing, Christy is outside, at the neighbor's house, with nothing in her hands. The threat Amanda is responding to, by her own timeline, is already over. What she's responding to now is someone who won't leave. And that's a different thing entirely.
What about the shot through the neighbor's front door? You know your neighbor had 2 young kids in the house sleeping when that shot went through their front door.
No, I did not know.
Well, they did. Did you shoot at Christy while she was in front of their house?
With the adrenaline, it's possible. Yeah.
With the adrenaline, it's possible. She just confirmed it. She fired at Christy while Christy was standing in front of the neighbor's house. The adrenaline framing is meant to soften it, the implication being that she wasn't fully in control. But it's possible is an admission, and it directly dismantles the self-defense claim she's been building, because at the moment of that second shot, by her own account, Christy was at someone else's door, not approaching, not threatening, standing at a stranger's house trying to get help.
You made some bad decisions tonight, okay? You shot at someone who was unarmed, fleeing from you, and you're trying to claim self-defense. it's not going to hold up. I'm just letting you know it's not self-defense.
That's not what I'm trying to say, and if that's the message that's coming across.
Well, you said that she was threatening you and raving. I mean, why else would you shoot her if it wasn't self-defense then? Why did you shoot her?
I'm an excellent shot.
Okay.
I wouldn't have shot her hip or grazed her hip if I wanted to shoot her.
Okay.
But that's what happened.
Okay. Well, what about where that round went? What was behind Christy when you shot? That's what I'm asking you about right now. You can't tell me? You said you thought it was a black truck.
Yes.
Well, a black truck didn't get hit that we know of, so it wasn't that.
That's honestly the last thing that I remember seeing.
I'm an excellent shot. She offered that as a defense. The graze proves she wasn't trying to kill her. The detective accepts that logic and immediately turns it against her. If you're an excellent shot, then the bullet that went through the neighbor's front door, through the living room, out the back of an occupied house, you put that there on purpose. Because excellent shots don't misfire into sleeping families. She used her own credential to walk herself into a corner, and she can feel it.
Do you know where we found the casing for the second shot? It was on the neighbor's front porch, which means you didn't shoot from over here. You shot from You shot Christy from in front of the neighbor's house.
I understand ballistics. I understand.
But what you're saying doesn't match up to the ballistics. If you're saying you understand it, then it doesn't match up, right?
I get that, but I never would have. I never would have walked up to the front door of my neighbor's house and.
But the facts and evidence say that that's what happened. So did somebody else do it? That's what I'm asking.
No, I'm not saying that either.
The casing is on the porch. That is not an interpretation. It is a location. And it places Amanda at her neighbor's front door when she fired the shot she has been describing for the last 40 minutes, as a second warning fired from her driveway. She cannot argue with where a shell casing lands. She knows it. The detective knows she knows it. And the sentence she can't complete. I never would have walked up to the front door of my neighbor's house, is the sound of a story collapsing in real time.
Here's the part I'm struggling with, okay? Help me. You're a smart person. You're educated, okay? Help me understand why you shot at her when you said you're in your house. There's 12 foot of grass. She's at the neighbor's house. You didn't see her holding a gun. She hadn't threatened you with a gun. You said she did that in the house, but now she's outside the house at least 12 feet away. By your own words, okay? Maybe more. Maybe a little less, but you said there's about 12 feet in between the houses, and you shot at her.
When you're verbally abused for a couple of years and pushed around and banged up.
I understand that, but Amanda, listen, okay, you had a gun on you. You said you had a gun on you. You had the ability to open the door and fire a warning shot, you said. And then you had the ability to stand in your driveway and shoot at Christy while she's over here in front of the neighbor's house, okay? So didn't you have the ability at any point to leave or to call 911 maybe? Or you run down the street to a neighbor's house and ask for help like she did?
It's hurricane season. Everybody's evacuating.
He just showed her the mirror. You had all the options Christy had. You had a gun. You had a phone. You had a front door. And Christy, unarmed, ill, already at the neighbor's house, chose to bang on doors and ask strangers for help. Amanda chose to follow her across the yard with a loaded weapon.
I think that she's your wife. Y'all have a very vulnerable relationship. Things got really heated today, Amanda. You got really upset. Maybe she got really upset.
For a long time.
Y'all probably said some really nasty stuff to each other tonight. Things got a little bit out of control. I think you lost control a little bit. You let your buttons get pushed a little too much.
We both lost control.
Maybe. But when it comes to the shooting aspect of it, I don't think You should have shot at her. I don't think it's self-defense. Do you agree with that or do you disagree? Do you think it's self-defense, what you just said? You had a gun. She didn't have a gun. You're standing in your driveway. She's over here at the neighbor's trying to get help, and you shot her. Is that self-defense?
Where was she at?
Do you believe that it was self-defense?
I know how to answer the question, but I also know that I've been sleep deprived for a couple of days, and I don't know how I need to answer it.
You don't know how you need to answer it?
She just told a detective, under interview, that she knows how to answer and is choosing not to. That is not confusion. That is a person who has understood exactly where this is going and is calculating whether admitting it is less dangerous than the alternative. She's been in this room for nearly 90 minutes. She processed language for a living. I know how to answer the question is not something an exhausted, frightened person says. It is what a person says when they understand that the honest answer is going to cost them 30 years.
What I just said, where you were standing right in front of the neighbor's front door when you shot at Christy.
From a ballistics perspective, yes.
Okay, I'm not asking from a ballistics perspective. I'm asking from your perspective. Were you standing in front of the neighbor's house or front door when you shot Christy?
Did you take karate?
I never took karate, no.
Okay. How I can describe tonight was like my first time stepping into the ring, where after the first punch is thrown, everything is a blur.
Okay.
And
do you remember going after Christy and shooting her? Do you remember coming from your house and running over to where she was and shooting her at the neighbor's house?
I remember the episode in the front yard.
Okay. But do you remember leaving your yard, going to the neighbor's house and shooting Christy while she's in the neighbor's yard, the neighbor's front porch?
I remember firing a second shot at what I thought was a black truck.
You fired the shot at the black truck or at Christy?
I would not hit Christy.
You already said earlier you were shooting at Christy.
Not to hit her.
Okay.
To get her
to scare
actually leave.
Okay. If you're an excellent shot, then why is there a shot that went through the neighbor's front door all the way through their whole house? You're saying you must, if you're an excellent shot, then you must be saying you meant to fire that shot through their house. You meant to shoot around right through the middle of their front door? You just said you're an excellent shot.
Now this is getting out of hand.
Amanda.
I do want an attorney.
Okay. Fair enough.
I mean, if I can be honest and real with you guys.
Okay, well, I've explained to you
I mean, I'm
what you're being charged with, right?
If you want an attorney, you don't have to say anything else.
Yep. But I've explained to you your charges. Okay, you will be arrested tonight. And you'll go to court in the morning. Okay, you'll have a first appearance within 24 hours, okay?
Well, can you please explain this to me?
We just did, Amanda. We did it for like an hour and a half. I mean,
I still don't get it. I mean, we've been fighting for a while.
She walked into that room with 2 graduate degrees and a self-defense story. She walked out of it under arrest, not because the detective outmaneuvered a vulnerable person, because she fired a gun at a woman who was already running away from her. A woman who was ill, who had nowhere to go, who spent the worst night of the year banging on doors in a hurricane asking someone to let her in. And Christy is the one who ended up with a bullet in her hip. I still don't get it. I mean, we've been fighting for a while. Those are the last words she says in this room before she's taken out. Not remorse, not panic, confusion, as if the fight was the whole story and the gun was just punctuation. Amanda Butler was tried in Jacksonville, Florida. The jury found her guilty on all 3 counts: attempted first-degree murder, shooting or throwing deadly missiles, and domestic aggravated assault. On June 22, 2022, Judge London Kite sentenced her to 30 years in Florida State Prison. She will be in her 80s before she is eligible for release. Christie survived. If this kind of analysis is what you're looking for, subscribing means you'll see the next one. So subscribe now and turn on your notification.